If you're very unlucky, you can be exposed to radon for just a couple of weeks, and from that exposure, develop lung cancer.
The KWQC investigation, radon, it is odorless, colorless, and it is deadly.
It tops our news at 6 tonight. Good evening, I'm Paula Sands.
I'm Gary with TVA. Radon levels vary from state to state all across the country.
But here, we are in the hot zone in the Quad City area.
KWQC's Morgan Otier has been investigated and finds that even the places we expect to be safe could be far from it, including many of our schools.
This map shows us what radon levels look like nationwide. Now, states in yellow on average have lower radon levels. States in orange, they're a bit more concerning, but the regions you see in red, these are considered hot zones with very high radon levels on average. Now, when we zoom into our area, you can see it's all red. Iowa and Illinois are ground zero when it comes to dangerous cancer-causing radon gases. But only these 5 states you see outlined in green, these are the only ones that require schools to test. You see Connecticut, Rhode Island, Florida, Virginia, and Colorado, some of them not even in the hot zones. But if we are in the hot zone, why are our schools not required to test, and should they do it anyway?
Lung cancer, no. I don't smoke. I don't live with a smoker. I've never worked around smoke. It just wasn't possible.
Gail Orchid had her left lung removed. She endured 12 weeks of harsh chemotherapy treatments, and she didn't understand why.
I was just in shock.
It's an invisible poison, and it comes from the very soil we build our homes and schools on, seeping through the cracks and causing deadly lung cancer.
We're talking 21,000 a year. And now that's a lot more cancer deaths than what you see for melanoma, bone cancer, and a lot of other cancers from all causes.
Dr. Bill Field is one of the world's foremost radon researchers, and he estimates roughly 90,000 classrooms nationwide are at risk.
When you send your kids to school, you don't want your kids smoking. Most parents would be very upset if they smoked. But a lot of times they're going into schools where the radon concentrations are very similar to making your kids smoke, a handful of cigarettes each day.
So while many kids are sitting in school ready to expand their minds, their lungs could be taking a beating.
Kids are more radiosensitive to radiation than adults are. They're rapidly growing, they're having more cell divisions, and they can have a defect occur when they're very young that doesn't manifest till later in life.
But Dr. Field says even if you're exposed to the carcinogen at an early age, it could take years before it turns into cancer.
Age 40 is the general age that you see lung cancer starting to develop in patients. Now, the exposures could occur 10 or 20 years before that are causing that development of lung cancer.
And many times, people only find out about radon after they're diagnosed. That's what happened to Gail Orchid.
I had a cough, a non-productive cough, and a wheeze. It was occasional at first, and then it got to be with every breath I took, I wheezed. I had lung cancer.
The diagnosis was horrifying, the prognosis terminal.
I've never smoked a day in my life.
Gail had to wonder, why was this happening to her?
6 physicians knew about my situation. None of them ever mentioned radon.
Then she came across an article about non-smokers and lung cancer. It was the first time she had ever seen the dismal 6-letter word.
When my husband got home, I sent him to the hardware store for a test kit. And we tested our home, and it came back well above the EPA action level.
Gail had her home tested, and she fixed it. But Gail was also a teacher for more than 30 years, and she still doesn't know whether she was exposed to the cancer-causing gas while in the classroom.
No one's ever tested. It's something I've always wondered if I wasn't leaving home where I was exposed to radon and going to work where I might have been exposed to radon also.
And research shows most schools don't test.
If your roof was leaking, you would fix it. You wouldn't let it damage your home. But radon could be damaging your lungs. Radon could be taking your life.
Many districts we spoke with say they just can't afford to test for radon. Others can't afford to mitigate, so they don't want to test.
We have the right to know if our kids are being exposed to a carcinogen. We have the right to know if you're an employee at a school, if you're being exposed to radon as well.
I've survived this miraculously, so I don't want other people to go through what I did.
Morgan Otier, KWQC, HD News.
Schools in Iowa and Illinois are not required to test for radon. There's no federal mandate. It is simply recommended. And few school districts